Hi friends, I'm Trisha. Welcome to a new video on my art channel. Today I'll be setting up my new Daniel Smith Jean Haines watercolor set into this cute little ceramic palette. I will share my initial reactions on the watercolors while setting up, followed by an interesting swatching session with a special nod to transparency. I'll give a quick glance into my folio of existing granulating watercolors from other brands and see some similarities with the Daniel Smith watercolors. And then the part I love most. I will create a painting using this set and some really interesting brushes and techniques like bokeh. Make sure you watch till the end if you love creating with watercolors. I hope you're excited. Let's get started. First order of the day is to fill the wells of this palette with paint from these tubes. These 5 ml tubes may seem small, but these paints pack a punch like you will see later. I observed that many of these watercolors in their mass tone right off the tube were really dark, but the magic of these beautiful paints come alive with water. Some paints are naturally more fluid and flow out of the tube more easily than others, and that's perfectly normal. It's usually a function of the particular pigments and binder combination used in the paint. Next, let's swatch these watercolors. I'm using a sheet from my Fabriano Artistico watercolor block that has some practice artworks on the other side. I've already labeled the sheet with the color names and a black line to check for the level of transparency of these beautiful watercolors. I use a round mop brush and clean water to wet the page where I will swatch. I do this for all the colors, but I'll show this particular process only for the first color. Then with the quill round brush, I pick up some of the paint to swatch. Friends, instead of calling out each color and its properties while I swatch, I thought I would use this time to share a realization I had about transparent watercolors. So until a few years back, when I started to paint with watercolors, I used to think that the mark of a great watercolor was intense vibrancy, to a level of almost near opacity, whatever the hue. After all, the color had to show up on paper, right? But over time, I've come to appreciate something quite different. What impresses me now is when a watercolor can remain beautifully transparent while still delivering a rich, vibrant color. I have noticed this in some of my Holbein watercolors and even some of the Mugello Mission Gold and White Night watercolors. This Daniel Smith Jean Haines set has truly highlighted that for me. Most of these paints are semi-transparent or transparent. Even a small amount of paint, once activated with water, creates these generous, luminous washes that go surprisingly far. The colors feel so strong and pigmented without sacrificing transparency, and that allows the light of the paper to shine through, which I love. I think it's this balance of pigment strength, the flow with water, and this luminosity that makes such a positive impression on me. And I love this set for it. Coming back to these colors, some of my favorites are the green and blue granulating watercolors, especially Cascade Green, Apatite Green Genuine, and Lunar Blue. I love the punchy warm yellows too in this set, nickel azo yellow, and Aussie red gold. I take out my catalogue folio of all swatches of different brands and watercolours. It also has different medium. And I do a sense check of the watercolours that seem familiar with the Daniel Smith Jean Haines set. The first similar profile seems to be Cosmic Green from the Kuretake granulating set. The Aqua Cool Blue looks like a similar Phthalo Blue yellow shade, but I don't see the brown granulating particles in the Kuretake one, and it has a different soft white granulation. I look for a familiar version of the Moon Glow and Lunar Blue in the White Night swatch sheet. Hematite Mist is one of my all-time favorite granulating colors and has a similar, though not same, profile as Moon Glow. Both have ultramarine blue that granulates, but the profile of the red pigment is more crimson in Daniel Smith and also includes viridian green. The Lunar Blue is almost similar to dark blue shadow of White Nights. The only difference being the Phthalo Blue is red shade in White Nights while being yellow shade in Daniel Smith. I can't find anything close to the Undersea Green or Green Apatite Genuine. The Tiger Mist from White Nights is quite different. With that, I file away the swatch sheet and now it is time to paint. I'm using my hand-stitched watercolor A6 sketchbook that has 300 GSM cold pressed paper. I love how it can lie flat. I use a number of brushes for this piece, details of which are down below. The first one is a natural hair brush, flat 1 inch, and is perfect for even flat washes. I use this to wet the paper first. Next, using the mop round brush, I mix some natural greens onto the palette. Then, using a flat angle brush, I dab on the paint onto the still wet background, letting it spread naturally in places and using brush strokes in places to create non-specific shapes so that it creates an illusion of greenery. I also bring in some of the nickel azo yellow. Then, using a deerfoot brush, I do the bokeh technique, lifting off wet paint and water in circular shape. I find this particular brush very useful for this technique. I keep wiping the paint off onto a dry paper towel. In places where the paint has started to dry, lifting gets more difficult, and I dab the brush with the slightest amount of water and then repeat the circular motion. In this way, the edges of the circles become sharper, especially with granulating paints. In the end, I feel happy with some defined circles and some diffused out of focus circles that completes the stage of bokeh. I now let this dry completely. Then I paint the two bamboo stems in bright Aussie red gold using a semi-wet and dry brush technique. I also mix some dark shades and start detailing. Then using a script brush, something like a rigger brush, I draw in the branches with some dark paint that I mix with green, blue and reddish tones. The most fun part was this next bit. I use a dagger brush and load it with some dark green shade. And then I start to place the leaves by gently pressing the brush onto the dried up background. With some finer details in, I feel mighty chuffed with this quick piece. If you enjoyed spending this creative session with me, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. You'll see lots more of art medium explorations, sketchbook adventures, and paint-along tutorials. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, happy painting!